forward to that. Leo, congratulations on your new contract. Is that something that you wanted, or is it something you had to think long and hard about what you were going to do, given the fact that you were just after signing up for just 1 year, I think it was last year?
No, I'm delighted, yeah. It's a great honour for me to be asked again to do it. So, yeah, like when you're doing it for a while, you always want to make sure everyone's doing things for the right reasons. So, yeah, no, it was easy conversation here, thankfully. So, just obviously we're in the middle of a pretty busy block at the moment, so it's probably just something that's been there in the background. And huge thanks to everyone involved. So no, excited about obviously that's next season. But as I said, we've lots to look forward to at the moment. It's a tough run of games. When we have a good chunk of players away at the moment. So and all the points matter at the end of the day. So it's a very exciting block at the moment that we're in, and lots of guys that probably haven't had that many opportunities. Earlier on in the season, now have a decent window to showcase what they can do, and that's what probably for me, even beyond the season, I know I'm sort of but that's probably where my mind is really. Beyond the season again, like there's lots of guys that want to be successful in the team and push on to higher honours, and that's probably the bit that excites me most about the role, because there's good young players there and they're keen to learn and improve, and all of us as coaches and backroom team, we're just trying to add value to all the players and help them on their journey as they progress through the ranks. So that's the exciting bit. This is you see younger players step in. Last week Rhys Ruddock pulled out literally the day of the game. Martin Maloney steps in, and so when you've got that throughput of players, from a coaching point of view and a backroom point of view, we've got good stability there, which I think is nice for the players. But all the while, we're trying to bring young players through, and create that healthy competition for the group. So, I'm excited about the future. Last year, it was you're on these Zoom calls, and then you're at empty stadiums, and it definitely played on, I think, lots of people's minds. But it's a lot more optimistic out there at the moment, and even having crowds back, and hopefully we get a good crowd at the RDS tomorrow. I was talking about the programme notes, even having the minis back last week, and it's just all starting to click together, and even seeing some of the schools games that have kicked off in recent days. It's amazing to see some of that schoolboy action. That's just teams going full at it, and big crowds and all the rest. And it's special times for families and all the rest. So, so that sort of boils all into the decision, really. Excited about the future now.
Can I ask you just in relation to the squad for tomorrow, specifically about two individuals, James Lowe, his return, and Sean Cronin winning his 4,570th camper, whichever one it is.
Well, James, so he came back in, and we a little bit touch and go. So we named the starting team a little bit earlier. So and we were seeing how James came through training. So he's come through everything okay, and he's ready to go really. So we'll see how much action he actually gets. But it's great to have him back. Sean Cronin, remarkable. Played a lot with the Nugget, as he's more commonly known around here. But such a popular member of the group, over such a long period. Although it doesn't seem like that long to me, all goes by in a blink of an eye. But it's a remarkable thing, 200 caps, because I don't know what he has in the some of the other provinces that he would have been involved with as well. I don't actually have those numbers to hand. Marcus probably hasn't heard. But he's such a popular member of the group. For me personally, obviously I played with Sean for Leinster and Ireland. Shared rooms together back in the day, away on international camps, and it was great to see him still going. He's a very, very popular member of the group, and hopefully gets a good run tomorrow, and brings a lot of that impact that he's been pretty well renowned for over the last number of years.
And just a final question for me, if you don't mind, please. I mean, during the week, the Sharks announced that they were signing Ivan Etzebeth for next year. I mean, what do you think the South African teams have added to the competition this year? Do you think that they're going to get stronger? I know you're going there. I think it's in April. Do you think they're going to get stronger the more time they have to bid into what's expected from them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like there's always going to be a bit of an adaptation sort of phase for them. We saw with the first two South African teams that came in. So now we've got the big four, so to speak. So like they're massive, teams, franchises, call what you will, but they're huge teams and organisations, and in terms of the quality of player and the amount of players that they have coming through in terms of the system over there, with rugby being the main sport there, and like with big cities as well, where they've big populations and some very good genetics across the board as well. So they're going to be a real handful, all those teams, and I suppose as they gather some momentum, I think over the next couple of seasons, seeing a lot of the talent that they have overseas, and you think, there's tons and tons of South African players playing overseas, whether it's some of that talent, you've mentioned it's about there as an example, as you see some of that talent potentially come back, it's only going to be good for the competition. And yeah, those teams are going to be a real handful because the conditions over there are so different. We played ourselves, Bloemfontein, where we're at altitude, and then in Port Elizabeth we were playing there as well. But you'll see it in. I think over the next couple of months, I think everyone will get a real dose of reality, in terms of some of the trips, whether you're the games at sea level in Durban or Cape Town, or the games at altitude, which is in Joburg against the Lions, or the Bulls, obviously in Pretoria as well. So, I think it's going to be good for the competition overall.
Cheers, thanks, man.
Can I ask about Felipe Contepomi, Leo? He was mentioned this week as being probably the front runner to take over the Argentina head coach position now that Mario Ledesma has stepped down. Is that something you've spoken to Felipe about at all in the last week or so?
Well, we talk all the coaches, not just Felipe, so we're lucky that we have a strong group here. There's been speculation links with Stuart, Robin, Felipe. We've got Dennis Leamy, who's making his way as a coach in the senior group now as well. So, there's always going to be that little bit of speculation around. And I talk to the guys all the time. So, there's some great people there. So when jobs come up, particularly when they're linked, as like Felipe said, there's 3 Argentinian coaches coaching in Europe. So, it's a short list of RGs that are in Europe, so he happens to be one of them. So I think it's pretty natural that he's going to be linked to the job. So, plus he's someone who has a ton of experience as a player, and, he's improving all the time himself as a coach as well. So we're very, very lucky to have him. So, there's always decisions to get made and behind the scenes and all the rest, but I'd like to think he's pretty happy here as well.
Would you understand if a position like that for him was just too good to turn down? If he was offered, obviously.
Of course, yeah. People in terms of the backroom staff that we have, we always will have. There's always some level of turnover, and when opportunities to come along, particularly for international coaches, of course. You want to see people progress, and I wouldn't stand anyone's way. But that's just the nature of it. We're operating obviously provincial club level, and so with some of these international opportunities, and I'm just looking at John Fogarty as an example, who's off with the national team here at the moment. So it's just a great progression for him. So I'm good to see him going well. But whoever that is, in the backroom team, we've from a athletic performance and medical point of view, it's very, very similar as well. So we celebrate guys when they move on.
Cheers, Leo. Good luck tomorrow.
Not to say that Felipe was moving anywhere. If he was. These hypothetical conversations are very difficult to have.
Cheers, Leo.
Leo Don here. Congratulations on your contract extension. the word family kept coming up in regard to this, and was having Christmas Day dinner alone a seminal or a sobering moment for you?
Yeah, that probably would have been a great day to get me to smile that day. Standing outside with my umbrella in the rain, watching my children open their Christmas presents. Yeah, no, it's like it is such a big thing, and that's one of the great things about the group that we have here at the moment. Like not everyone is from Leinster in the group, but there's a very big chunk that are. So for us to be able to have, and I include myself in that group, to have friends and lots of our family that are big supporters and followers of the team, pretty much at all the home games, like it's a huge thing for us. So we're very, very lucky in that regard. So when you're playing, like you're involved in professional sport, it requires a big commitment. So you need to make sure you're fully committed to the cause and all the rest, because that's what delivers the big performances over the course of a long season that we have here. So friends and family play a huge part, and we're very, very lucky here that we've got some great support from lots of the guys' families, which is really, really positive.
And finally, Sean Cronin is an AIL forwards coach now. He's getting his photograph put up on his AIL club next week. Could it be a pathway to Leinster for him?
Definitely, yeah. And it's when you see players that you're involved with coaching, and playing in some cases as well, go on to progress coaching wise, like it's great satisfaction. I think all of us as coaches here will get great satisfaction about seeing players go on. Scott Farley is probably the most obvious example at the moment, who's away coaching in Japan at the moment. So, we would have lots of different conversations just in terms of, next steps, how you make that transition from player into coach. And it's great to see Sean Cronin do that with Mary's, as you rightly point out. Because they, as a player, particularly as an experienced player, then he starts to turn to, okay, how he can add value to some of our younger players in terms of just helping them in terms of their progression. So, I think it's a very, very powerful thing. So hopefully it goes well in his career. But yeah, the door's always ajar for sure, for everybody.
Just wondering, when you're talking about Leinster family there and going from, as you did as a player, into a coach, does that change the dynamic with the people you've played with? If you have to give them bad news, either about a contract or about being dropped, or how does that how do you deal with that on a personal level? Just making a cold, calculated business decision with players that you might have known 10 years.
You'd like to think they wouldn't be that cold. They're like, we've a lot of understanding like that it is competitive, so opportunity is going to come for people. There's going to be decisions for people, to stay or to move on, and that's players and coaches. That's sometimes we like those decisions. You come together and try and come to what's the best for everybody really. So it's always been able to put yourself in the other person's shoes in many ways. So. But that's part of the job, really, isn't it? So, we're lucky that we've lots of people that are very, I guess, passionate about the club and wanting to do well. It seems like I never ever played rugby, to be honest. That transition, even though it's gone very, very quickly, this piece in terms of coaching. But I feel like I've had a huge amount of support from the club as well, from Mick Dawson, CEO. Guy used to be from an operational point of view, but there's so many people I could mention. So that's been a great, I guess, sense of support for me personally. So again, I'm just trying to do something similar to some of the other people that are around the place. And that's why year to year sort of seems to make sense in that regard, because you want to make sure that these transitions are always right, and maybe that will go on for a lot longer than that. But I think it's important for us to always just making sure are we on the right course here with the group that we have.